Hey guys, and welcome back to episode number 7, where we are currently approaching act number 7. I mean, it makes sense, right? Act 1, part 1, act 7, part 7, like, yeah. Straightforward as this run here with Tyty Killer on his miner. So, we're just gonna jump right into the action. You're just killed the Brine King. You also check the Pantheon, because it's something I usually skip. Because I sometimes never even talk to Sin at the start. And then in the end, when I'm at mapping, I find out that I not even clicked on the Pantheon, so they are just inactive, but still available.
Yeah, and going into town, since Brine King phases out so much, I typically do a tiny bit of inventory management before the fight even starts, just because of how long it takes. Here I fight an Essence that takes quite a while, because it's these little golem boys have a significant amount of life, same with the bears around here, but I just wanted the Essence. It's basically like a free alchemy, even though it's not a very great one. It's it's still an extra way to make a rare or a rare ring or a rare amulet from like a normal.
Yeah, with at least the stat that you want to have on it.
Mm-hmm.
As you said before, that you are kind of doing every single essence mob, not only because they're rare, but also just because of the crafting. If you find a good base with the links you want to have, and just craft something quick, basically.
Exactly. Here you can see in the Broken Bridge that I picked up the quest. This allows me to get either a Jade Flask, or a Jade Flask, a Granite Flask, or a Diamond Flask. It's up to you what you want to grab. Typically I grabbed the Granite, but this run I decided to grab the Jade, I believe, just to be a more evasion-based character. It doesn't particularly matter, but ideally you want to stack as many different types of mitigation as possible.
Just to get lucky sometimes when you have this 10% dodge and you're like, ah, I dodged.
Yeah.
all worth it, all worth it.
In the last zone, I made sure to grab the waypoint since we have to go down here to Fellshrine Ruin. This is just the path that we take in the early X7. We're going to go ahead and pick up the trial in the Crypt, and then head on down to get the map device, or the map for from Crypt Part 2, Level 2.
You focus a Maligaro. At least that's some names I remember in the whole story, although I played so often, like at least 30-40 times every single league. I sometimes even, if you ask me, hey, what is the name of this boss? I'm like, hey, you did that like 150 times already. Still, you know, names, I know what to do. That's at least something.
There you go. Here in this zone, in the Crypt, typically follows the same layout advice, or somewhat similar layout advice as the Crypt that you can find in Act 2. As far as finding the trial is concerned, the very first room will tell you where to go. I can't describe what kind of layout looks like what, but if you just run through the zone a couple times and you go, oh, okay, this is what the first room looks like, here's what the layout looks like, here's where I can find the trial the fastest, then it should work out.
And the good thing here is that the map kind of spoilers it, because every time you see this book icon, you know there is a trial there, because in every single zone where you have this trial, there is going to be a book in the start that you can read if you want to for the achievement, and there is also a crafting recipe. Like, I think on every single trial there is a crafting recipe, so even you don't know that it is there. So if you're walking there and you see one of those books, you know exactly, okay, here is a trial, and he discovered already the entrance to part 2 where he's like hitting right now. Just a small tip here.
Yeah, it's good advice. Typically, you always look for the book. In a few layouts, the book is actually a fake one. Sometimes the layout has different layouts have 2 books in them. One is the trial, one is just a piece of lore. But typically in these areas with trials, you're going to want to look for the book. Here, you always go in the opposite corner in the Crypt Part 2, just because that's usually where it's at. But it's always going to be on the opposite end, as far away as possible from it.
Yeah, but in the end, it all comes down to the constant progress, and then you kind of learn how the layouts are passively just because you do it so often, and then you remember, oh wait, it was back there. For me, for example, when I go Labyrinth, I intentionally always go right top side, because in 90% of the layouts in the Labyrinth, it is right top side. So that helps me always. And you kind of learn the same process in the leveling up here, basically, because you play it so often that you kind of learn how everything looks like. Although they change, but you still have find your way through it quite quickly.
So here we just look to go to the middle. Picking up alchemies is always nice. There's a craft coming up that typically we'll craft on, but I already feel pretty confident in both of my weapons, and it's harder to replace my offhand weapon just because they both have resistances on them, so it's hard to replace them. But that lightning craft right there costs 2 alchemies, and it's a very nice lightning damage roll.
Have you picked up now? Did you figure out, once you find the alchemy, did you get the minefield support or still not?
I don't think I ever pick up the minefield support.
Reap. But yeah,
That's
not
fine.
needed. Not needed.
Yeah. I decided just to throw mines like twice instead of grabbing minefield and being locked in the animation, but might have been a mistake.
Grinding through.
This zone can be a little bit scary. In part 2 of the campaign, there are only a few zones that are particularly deadly, and this is kind of one of them, just because of the constant bleeds that they can apply.
Gamble all?
It was a chat command in my chat. We have like a point system.
Okay. So make sure to check out Twitch TV/TyTyKiller for some more insightful about racing. And he also was talking about in one of the other videos that he has some kind of VODs for every single class. Because I already, when I uploaded part 1 of this series, I already had comments. Yeah, but what if you do if you're Marauder? What if you do when you're Ranger? Go Twitch TV/TyTyKiller and then check his VODs, and he has probably every single VOD of every class there. But this is his current project, I would say, that he's going to use in the upcoming 3.9 as well. That's why we're going to take a look at the miner here, because it's also his choice. And for me as a non-racer, you have a pro racer. If he says, I'm going to go miner because it should be untouched with the nerfs and so on, and should be really, really good, it's something you can probably trust on. And here is something I can give a tip, because this is something my viewers told me. The way to go is always where the waypoint is. So the waypoint can be on the right side, bot side, and left side, basically. I don't think it ever will be on the top side because you're spawning here. But every time where the waypoint is, this is the direction you have to go to find the entrance of the Chamber of Sins level 2.
And it follows the same concept in Act 2 as well.
Because I'm usually just running around searching that shit, and one viewer told me, hey, it's always in the direction where the waypoint is. And I'm like, really? Like, it's small certain things here that you learn, and it's a fun thing, or the good thing about Path of Exile, basically, for me. Even after, like, more than 5,000 hours and couple of leagues that I already played, there's, like, almost every single day I learn something new. And this is why the game is actually so interesting to play, right? Because in other games, you play 2 weeks, you're 99% done with all the achievements and challenges and whatever you can do in the game, and then you're, like, getting bored. But with this game, it's just like a never-ending story of tips and tricks that you can adapt and learn for your own playstyle.
Yep, even I have a lot to learn. Like that portal there, for example. I placed it because I couldn't find the trial, but then I decided to just go back for it anyways, because I figured it'd be over here. So I found it and the portal was wasted. But yeah, there's always things to learn. Even I have a lot of improvement to make if I wanted to be as good as Ty23 was, for example. Unfortunately, they fixed the skip here, so you can't go from the right-hand side anymore. This is the one you were talking about earlier.
Exactly,
but now you have to go from the left-hand side.
It's the part where you just have to run this whole circle to get here to, I think it was the den or something. But people are using this corner here to jump over and just skip all the seconds that you need to actually move around here. It's actually pretty cool. But sadly, I adapted to it. Like, when I see it on the racing, I was like, hey, it works. Okay, and since then, I always used it. And I think last league or something, they fixed it. And I'm like standing there and trying 10 dashes of flame dash, trying to get over. And I was like, I think they fixed it. Or I'm just bad and I cannot even do it anymore. Depends.
No, they definitely fixed it, unfortunately. I mean, I usually check for it, but at this point, I've given up. Maybe next patch.
Maybe next patch. It's a risky playstyle here, opening the box without the wisdom scroll. But yeah, you have your freeze flask, right? So you should be fine at this point.
Typically on suffixes on your flasks, you're going to look for freeze immunity, just because at this point, if you have freeze immunity, it allows you to open boxes without having to spend any extra time on them. Otherwise, the boxes are, they take a while, and you might only want to open the high value boxes, like divination cards, or diviner's box, particular unique strong boxes. But for the most part, it's difficult to to, blast through the strong boxes unless you have a freeze immunity.
And you still have this silver locket in your inventory. It means that since you started this act, you haven't been to town once for turning in or selling, kinda.
Correct. This is where the pathing of Act 7 really kicks in. We place a portal to go back to get the fireflies later. This way we don't have to backtrack at all. Typically, you don't have this layout and you have to backtrack quite a bit if you were to go straight to the fireflies. In addition to that, the pathing that we take through the last part of Act 7 here allows us to get all 3 skill points at once, while also, as you said, turning in the silver locket for the flask. You can go back just for the flask if you feel a little bit sketch. Getting some defensives on either the granite or the jade flask is always really nice, but I find that I don't really need it here, so I always opt to go back later.
And this is exactly what we had in the last couple of acts as well. He starts the zone, he sees on the minimap where the entrance is, where the fireflies and Grutkohl is, drops a portal and just moves on to the next waypoint, going back to town and then going straight, so the back pedal is pretty much gone here.
So in Causeway, there is a skill point that you can get. I believe it's like Whalem's Locket, maybe? Something like that. But you give an item to Whalem and it gives you a skill point, but it's at the very end of the zone. So rather than take this waypoint back to town, we're actually going to take the next waypoint in, I believe it's the Val City.
God, the Val City. One of my absolute favorite zones in the game. Kappa. Dude, this is such a shit city to read, basically, because sometimes I need like 2 or 3 minutes, and sometimes I think I had it multiple times that I figured out the whole zone until I found Yener there. It is like horrible to find. Do you have any tips and tricks for that zone, or is it still RNG for you?
Carve has a guide on his YouTube on how to read it perfectly. I still mess it up sometimes. I sort of messed it up here before I realized that it was a different layout than I thought it was. But typically you'll... So I'll tell you, so if you encounter like a ledge here, like you see water, you'll just continue straight along, and it's going to be on the right-hand side. But if you have a really long layout to the wall here, you can go around the way that I'm going. I decided that, oh wait, this is the short wall, so you just go around on the left. And a good portion of the time it's here. If it's not going to be where you find it in this video, then it's probably going to be all the way down this line and to the left, like at the very end of the zone.
And usually where the book is, there is also... here we have exactly the part where we have 2 books. But usually, every time there is a book somewhere, it hints you kind of in the right direction, sometimes. And now we go back, collect the fireflies in the red thicket.
Again, following the same concept, we could turn in our skill point to Aramir, get our skill point from, the other guy, I forget his name. But by doing this, we're able to get 2 skill points from Aramir, and we don't have to backtrack at all and talk to multiple vendors. So we're just minimizing our time in town and maximizing our time killing monsters.
Grutkohl. The dude that can just fucking one-shot you. Like, Aberrath...
in the later stage of the fight, it can.
Yeah, Grutkohl and Aberrath are usually the bosses that I skip until I was in the Blood Aqueduct to level up to kind of one-shot these bosses, because I know how painful it can be if you don't have enough damage to kill them off, that how easily you could die on those bosses. Same as
typically
Yugal.
On melee builds, I'll come back for him.
Yeah. Yugal is also like one hell of a shit boss, but not only Yugal, it's just like the way to it with all the porcupines and stuff. It's like horrible, dude.
Yeah, typically if I'm in a brand new league, I'll go ahead and just do Yugal like as I'm doing it. But if I'm going for rank 1 and just trying to push ladder, I'll just skip it until later on. Here we prepared everything that we need to sell in town, so we get 2 skill points from Aramir. We're gonna grab the flask from Whalem, and we're gonna grab the skill point as well.
Wait, you actually misclicked that, or?
I kind of wanted the granite instead, but I decided to just go for the jade. And here I'm rolling for adrenaline, and I'm like, alright, bleed immunity, that's fun. And we remove one of our life flasks.
Because this is the optimal setup that I even use in endgame grinding, right? You have a Quicksilver flask with adrenaline to speed you up. And then on whatever flask you use, like you have the freeze immunity and the bleed immunity. This is pretty much the base core of flask setup that you need on kind of every character. I mean, freeze immunity probably not on if you play a Juggernaut, because he gets like immune to it with the Ascendancy, but this is actually like a rare case, because usually every character should have a freeze immunity flask.
Yep. Here I went to pewelab.com. I believe that's the web address, but you can just Google search PoE Lab. I highly recommend it. It's always just been super handy and super useful for me to use. Since we're partially ES based, I decided to go for Wicked Ward. Maybe Assassination would have been better here because I don't have much energy shield yet, but unfortunately I didn't realize that it was essences, and the essence died, I believe. Yeah, I accidentally killed the essence, so I didn't get the extra key from that. Since we do so much damage, I feel fine leaving all the mechanics up and just getting the extra key for it, but if you're feeling a little bit sketch, you know, you don't do enough damage or you're not tanky enough, you could either make sure to kill all the essences or basically try to make the fight as easy as possible in the last time, or you could just come back later, depending on what Ascendancy node you get.
But since you mentioned the PoE Lab, this is like a website that shows you the today's layout and so on. These guys are doing a fantastic job. They are doing this every single day, but it's just kind of wondering if it's league start. How should they know? Do they like instantly when league start is go standard, and do standard have the same layout as solo self-on and stuff? Is like every single layout the same? Okay. So they are basically, as soon as the league start, they go standard, bam, kill lab, make the guide for it. So even after 1 hour after the league start, or 2 hours right now, you're basically having the correct information here.
And typically it takes a little while to update, so it depends on your time zone when it's going to update for each day, but it will update every 24 hours. For me, it's 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I believe, or just Mountain Time, my time. And based on that, I know that, okay, if I run lab at 4:59, it's going to be the same as yesterday's. PoE Lab will be updated and good. If I run lab at 5 p.m. or 5:01 p.m., lab's going to be reset, so it's not going to be the exact same layout that I see on the website.
Yeah, for us in Europe, or Middle Europe, I think it's like 2 or 3 a.m. basically, when the lab resets.
Yeah. So ours is, I mean, Europe just has an unlucky time overall on when league starts.
That's actually true, yeah, because if you take the New Zealand Auckland time, they have league start in like 10 in the morning or so, everything is fine, and in Europe you have like close to midnight, so it's kind of hard to do like a 20 hours non-stop. I mean, like, you start with the night,
right.
you know, so it's a little bit awkward, to be honest. I would feel better as well if it would be, let's say, 2 p.m. or something, right? So you're motivated,
Right.
you're awake and everything. But yeah, at least we all have the same start.
You see here that I go for Dark Shrines. I'll only go for Dark Shrines if they're super fast or super quick, just something along the main path, kind of like that. Just because you can get something like a damage shrine or survivability shrine. You can also get a speed shrine. You can get a key or a unique item, and on all 5 of those options are pretty good. You shouldn't go super far out of your way to get them though, unless you're Uber lab farming. But if you're Uber lab farming, then you pretty much already know what you're doing.
Or the thing that I always get, if I'm not playing Uberlab, an additional use of the Divine Font.
Hopefully. On this lab, it's perfectly fine, because boot enchants are actually really good. It's just a little bit unlucky to get an extra use of Divine Font on Cruel Lab, just because typically you'll replace your boots fairly quickly, because you need to have 30% MS at some point.
You want it, at least.
Right.
Right, I'm gonna quickly pull this one up here. Or at least, like, let's watch. I'm gonna link the PoE Lab in the description below, so you know, basically, if you're unaware of this website, what we're actually talking about. And the website also shows you where are the Dark Shrines, where is Argus, for example, in the later stages. It's like really cool tool.
So here I always open the chest as I go to grab my Ascendancy. This is just to prevent myself from disconnecting. And here we enchant the boots, even though the boots are, from like Act 1 basically, the very low base type. We're still going to be using them for a little while, and we don't have any other alternatives, so we're just going to enchant that.
You don't really care what did you just hit, right?
Right.
Because I didn't see what you got. Because you're like spamming it on top of it, and that's it.
Yeah. They're actually pulled up some homework, but That's fine. You know,
Multitasking.
yeah.
So while he's racing, he has his homework and things to study on his other monitor. So he's actually just studying and just. Oh wait!
Staring you.
No!
Oh, oh
No!
no!
What have I done? That was the wrong key. Oh shit!
Further,
Okay,
move further. A little bit
that
back.
should be
There we
fine.
go.
That should be
There.
fine.
That's fine.
Oh no! Fat fingers! I keep my hands away now. It's all fine.
All right. So in the Temple of Decay, there's always going to be this middle center platform that you're looking for, and you can actually smoke mine, flame dash, leap slam, blink arrow across the gaps that you can find sometimes. They adjusted it. Maybe leap slam can't get over it still, but the other three skills definitely can. For this part, typically you'll just look for the middle platform and then go to the opposite corner. That's typically how it's done.
Jade.
But I
So
can
you can see
actually
that-
confirm that Leap Slam works, because I do play a lot of melee characters and I always skip those parts as well, so...
All right, cool.
Shield charge
Oh, yeah.
doesn't work. This is something I can
that is correct.
So often that I stand on this pillar and I'm shield charging, I'm like, I'm actually so retarded. Talking about movement skills, what do you think is the best movement skill, or are all like kind of similar from the gap closers, or...
Smoke mine and flame dash is just the best. Like, you could just use, eventually your movement speed will be high enough to where it's just better to use exclusively like flame dash like later on. But since you don't really reach that point in the storyline, that's why we opt to do the flame dash or the smoke mine flame dash skip. And again, that's gonna be throw the smoke mine, you detonate it, and you cast the flame dash.
So basically, what do you think about these new things like Frost Blink and Dash and that kind of things? They're like typically Flameless, just weaker.
Yep, they're just what you use until you can get smoke mine or
Yeah.
flame dash.
I think
And
Flame Dash
here
is
we see
also
the
level
power.
10.
Yep, and you get the dash abilities at level 4. Boop, boop. So here we have a little bit of time to pre-trap. We can like fix our inventory, put our passives in. I threw them a bit early, but
Wow.
it doesn't matter.
That burst damage though, holy shit.
Yeah, we wanted to get the blast chain going. It worked out just fine, but that's gonna be it for X7.
Holy shit, that was like amazing and super fast, and already did a lap, the second lap as well. So we're on the run. This is a run on fire. Holy shit, the current timer is on 2 hours, 9 minutes, 0 seconds, and 0.7 seconds, I think. Yeah. It's incredible, dude. But yeah, guys, that's it for episode number 7. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, and see you on episode number 8.